Well, welcome everybody. I think I'll call this council meeting to order, and welcome to our February 9th council meeting. We have an agenda before us. I'll entertain a motion. Well, first of all, does anybody have anything to add to the agenda? Anything? Nothing? Okay. Motion to adopt the agenda is circulated. Councillor Duryea.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. I would move that we adopt the agenda for the regular council meeting Monday, February 9th, 2015.
Okay. All those in favor? That motion's carried. Before we move on, I notice that our CEO is not here. He's away. Is there an acting CEO today? Garth? Okay, we know who we can direct all the hard questions to. Just needed to know that. And also Mayor Dahl and Councillor Overwater are out of town also, so we're a little short today. So the minutes. Councillor Bearshaw.
Thank you. I move that the minutes from the January 26, 2015 regular council meeting be adopted.
Okay, any errors or omissions noted? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Now we're into our delegation phase. We have a delegation from the Royal Canadian Police. Is there somebody introducing, or Staff Sergeant Sanction, are you going to be presenting?
Both of us will be presenting a little bit.
Okay, now is your time. Just come on up to the microphone and.
All right. Thanks for having us here today, folks. And I just wanted to, the presentation today is just going to be a quick overview of 2014, what happened in our area, and what the status is of the detachment. So, do you folks? I sent over a copy of the statistics for the year. Did everybody get that?
Everybody has a copy.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll just be looking at that briefly as I go along here. Okay, the detachment as a whole has 14 members. Okay, and we've had a few changes here in the last little while, and I just want to bring that to your attention. We have 9 members on the municipal side, which consists of myself, 1 corporal, and 7 constables. And then we have 5 members on the rural side, which is 1 corporal and 4 constables. For 2014, the detachment received 5,002 calls for service. I could break those down even more, but if I'm not going to, if you have any questions, because it's going to be, we'll be here forever. One of the most interesting things that I noticed for the year, 1,200 of those calls were motor vehicle collisions. And that's handled mostly by our front end staff, municipal employees, and they deal with it at the front counter in our office. We have had a vacancy for a year and a half. A constable from Pincher Creek, and that's been an ongoing concern of mine trying to get that position filled. It's been a year and 6 months, and the position has just been terminated concerning her, and I now have a new member coming from Cochrane. But again, she has a house to sell, so I'm waiting for that to get done. I met her on Friday. She attended to the office, and she's an 18-year member, so I'm looking forward to hopefully that happening and getting her here and get that position filled. Constable Cushion is leaving. He's going to Surrey, BC. He over the summer last year he went to PDS training in Innisfail, and he's leaving. He's got his transfer, and the new member, Constable Alex Ross, is here and working. So, and Constable Ward has also been transferred out. He's going to Fort Chip. And he's gone, and there's a new member coming from High Prairie. And he'll be starting here March 4th. He doesn't have a host to sell there, so it's going to be a quick transfer, which is good. Now, concerning our annual performance plan for last year, we had 3 priorities. 1 was youth, the 2nd was traffic enforcement, and the 3rd was break-and-enters, residential, and business. I'm happy to report as a result of efforts by the detachment, and in particular Corporal Mike Black here with his crime reduction strategy. The break-and-enters concerning both was reduced by 45%. So that was nice to see. Traffic enforcement, we've met our target there, and same with youth. And And a request that I've made to Mountain View County and the town of Bowden is what would you like to see for the annual performance plan for 2015? And both councils have suggested that we maintain currently the same priorities. And I'm in agreement with that, but I am looking for some feedback from you folks. That is pretty much my report that I have to you folks. It's been a good year. Crime has reduced for the town of Olds as long as Mountain View, has reduced, and the same for Mountain View County, and the same for town of Bowden. The one thing that did increase was theft of vehicles. It went from 28 for the year up to 47, so it's a 67% increase. And a common thing we're seeing is people leaving their vehicles unlocked and running out front of a convenience store. And folks are hopping in them and off they go. We're finding them probably within, what, under 48 hours, Mike? And they're either in Red Deer, or they're in Didsbury, or they're in Calgary. So, and the message is put out to try to get that to stop, but it continues. Assault was down 25%. Disturbing the peace was down. And my arms need to get longer. 19%, 20%. That's as a result of efforts by our members and the college. We formed a good working relationship partnership with them, and we've seen a considerable reduction in complaints from the community in around the bars and that trip from the bar back to the college. So that's been nice to see. Everything else has pretty much stayed, and reduced a little bit, and so there's been really no big concerns for the year for us. Some of our players are folks that want to commit criminal offenses are in and out of the system, and when they're out, we're monitoring them. But I'm going to let Mike address that. That's my report, and I'm open to any questions.
Councillor Harper.
Thank you very much, and welcome to council, Staff Sergeant Sangster and Corporal Black. In reference to the motor vehicle collisions, you said 1,200 in 2014.
Correct.
Is this only for the municipal side, or is this for your entire detachment?
Entire detachment.
So all of these reports that you've provided to us are for the detachment, not necessarily...
This is just for the town of Olds.
that one part?
That, just
okay.
for the town of Olds. You should have the one just for the town of Olds.
Okay, because I was looking at this one for...
Okay.
I was also wondering in reference to municipal bylaws traffic, and I'm looking at the overall report. There's an indication year-to-date, 23 traffic violations. Is that correct?
With regards to the bylaws, municipal bylaws?
Yes.
Okay, that might not be traffic. It also could be dealing with being drunk in public, urinating on the street, causing a disturbance under the municipal bylaw.
Okay, so that would be under our behaviors bylaw.
Correct.
Correct. And that would be the 131 number.
Correct.
Okay. Now, the other question I have is in reference to false alarms, and I do apologize that I don't have it. I'll have to go through this report, but it indicates that false alarms for your detachment were at 274 reported false alarms for 2014. Are a lot of the false alarms would be for, I'm going to say, repeat offenders?
Correct.
And through you to our CAO then, I believe under our new community standards bylaw, we do have a recourse to begin fining businesses for not putting the appropriate actions in place, so that there's not as many repeat offenses. So how often do you find yourself going back to the same businesses for false alarms? Quite often?
It happens, and I don't know if often is the right word to describe it. So we're looking at over 300 calls, false alarms for last year. So, you average those out, it's less than one a day. But we do have repeat offenders for sure. And it's a concern for all municipalities and rural areas also. And I know in Mountain View County, a recent report to those folks, that was a concern from Didsbury Detachment and Sundre. So it continues, and I've been a policeman for coming up 25 years, and it always has been. And I don't know what the answer is.
Thank you very much. So you don't believe putting fines in place would be the answer to solve some of those situations?
I think it could be a part of the answer, but I don't think it's going to be the whole answer. And then we get folks that are trying to do the right thing by putting alarms in, and they're law-abiding, good folks in the community. And if we start finding them, I want these folks to be my partners, and we start finding them, are we winning or losing? I don't know.
Councillor Borshaw.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. I went on a ride-along with Citizens on Patrol on Thursday night, and it was pretty interesting. And the question, or it was alarming to see how much property crime that these folks that volunteer for that talk about. And I sort of agree with you. All those businesses seem to be just a constant target around our community. But the one thing is more of a comment I was going to make was, I don't spend a lot of time out on a Thursday night at 11 o'clock, but once the young people start migrating from the college to the bars, it was really impressive to see your members out, because there was lights and there was people parked on the wrong side of the street. They're crossing, and the police presence was impressive. I don't think they were, they weren't parked. The lights weren't on for a long time, so I think maybe it wasn't a harassment sort of thing. But they were working with those college kids to kind of keep everybody on the straight and narrow. But it was pretty impressive to see. So thank you.
No, and I appreciate you making that comment. It's a priority for our detachment to get out there with these kids, because we want to keep them safe. But we're all young once, and we've all been there. And it's just, if we're working with them and showing a presence, it kind of keeps them honest and gets them back home where they should be. So,
Councillor Dorier.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate your presence today. We appreciate the bigger print. Very helpful. Thank you for thinking of us. Couple of questions, just my own curiosity. Number one, 1,200 collisions, is that within the policing jurisdiction or here in Olds?
no, in our policing jurisdiction.
Okay.
And we have Highway 2, and that adds a lot.
Can you break that down as far as Olds is concerned, and subsequent to that, are those responses to collisions that are of a higher monetary nature, in other words, like $2,000 or more or something like that?
Anything that's reported to us is over $2,000, and as you can appreciate, it doesn't take much to get to that amount. And the vast majority of those collisions are reported to our front counter, and especially in September, October, November, when we get animal collisions, that sort of thing. So I can break that all down to you. I won't be able to today, but I can, and I'll get a report back to council.
Okay, and further to that, if I might, Mr. Chairman, you haven't touched on spousal abuse, and I'm not sure if you're going to cover that. Are you? Are you going to? What I mean is, there are some statistics in your report here.
Mm-hmm. Domestic violence in our area here, it does happen. It is not a, what's the right way to put this? It's not a situation where we're getting repeat offenders. We've probably had one case this year, and it was not here in the town of Olds. It was out of Calgary, an individual out of Calgary who came and dealt with a young lady here, and we're still dealing with him. Majority of our incidents that are involving us are mediation. It's a one-time charge, and the continuing monitoring by our office ends because there is no more incidents. So it is low here, and one instance is way too much, but this is a good community, and there's resources in place to help these folks, and It's not something that is a burden on the community here.
Councillor Harper?
I thank you very much for starting this conversation, Councillor Duryea. I believe the stats are here on one of the pages. In reference to domestic violence, you talk about in your larger report for the entire detachment, VSU accepted, that's Victim Services Unit. So who comprises of the Victim Services Unit? Is that strictly Chinook Sarge Victim Services volunteers and their coordinator?
Correct.
Okay, and that would be for the entire area then? Where it says,
Didsbury and Sundre.
yes, for your
Yes.
area.
Yes.
So it indicates that of the 331 cases or referrals sent to victim services, or there was 331 people or cases declined their services or just felt they didn't need it. Is that what it means by that?
Correct.
Okay.
And some of those will include traffic collisions. Like
Okay.
we'll ask these folks, would you like to speak to our victim services
Okay.
representative?
Yes.
And they decline. So.
And we certainly appreciate the fact that we have that service available to this detachment area. Another situation is in reference to visibility in the community. That was one of your priorities as well. Could you, or perhaps Corporal Black, could provide some information what type of programs that you were involved in that made yourselves more visible, or was it just a high visibility with your cars and your bike patrols and stuff like that?
Do you want to address that, Mike, or do you want? Let Mike talk for a while.
Yeah, the bike patrol for sure was a big factor in the summertime. We do have, I guess, up to 6 bikes now. 5 bikes. And the training has been done for most of the members here. The auxiliaries, as well as the new members coming, will be trained on the bike. And it's just another tool that we use to get out there. People like to see us. We're able to get into places that the cars and foot patrol just simply can't get to be effective. There is a lot of pro-enforcement in terms of lots of traffic stops that we do conduct. Whether a violation ticket is issued is kind of not irrelevant, but it's more of an educational background and more of an education to change that behavior as opposed to getting the violation ticket. With the youth, we do a lot of things in the schools, not only elementary and the middle school, but the high school as well. And that goes along with the football game. We are into the school playing floor hockey with the kids. What else have we done this year?
Well, we played the
The
junior
Grizzly game there. Now we have the Calgary Infernal game coming up at the end of February. So those type of things takes away the stereotypical image of the bad policeman that a lot of the young people in the community may have of us, and relate us to more of a person and an individual and a member of the community, which is what we all want to be and are part of. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you very much for that
Councillor Bennett, you had a question there?
Thank you very much for coming and presenting this. We very much appreciate it, and we appreciate all your hard work out there too. And the positive image with the students is a good thing. I see that you're doing more Lock It or Lose It. Are you going to concentrate on olds on that as well?
It's a program that I've discussed with COP to try and get the pamphlets to do the Lock It or
Okay.
Lose It. It is something that can continue. I can't give you any type of whether it's successful or wasn't successful over the past year. It is something that the community and people that are parking their vehicles, residents, sheds, should be aware of for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Dorier was first.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. On a yearly basis, in conjunction with the RCMP and the fire department, we roll out a fundraising program. I forget the name of it. It's on. We do it on the 27 there. Charity. Thank you. That's probably what it is. Charity Check Stop. I know that there was a lot of enthusiasm for that program last year, and even to the point where I heard a few citizens complain that maybe we got a little rambunctious. I would be guilty with part of that myself, to a degree. But I'm just wondering if you maybe have thought about that or have heard anything with regards to that. I'm sure you're going to roll that out again, but has anything come to you with regards to that?
Nothing that I've heard that's come to the office as of yet, no. We got to be very, I won't say careful in terms of what type of charity things that we're trying to promote and background, because we're bound by our headquarters on kind of direction that we can take, but of course, if we can be involved to some degree, for sure we will.
So I was talking more about the enthusiasm as the cars are rolling through that check stop.
Oh, I see.
That would go back for up to 2013. 2014,
We didn't do.
we didn't have the event.
Yeah.
And that was me. No, it was. Oh, yeah. No, if that's not what you're referring to, because I was getting out in the middle of the road talking to folks and trying to make it a fun event. So I know I received one complaint about that. So if that's not what it's about, then I apologize. Okay.
Councillor Harper.
Maybe you need to elaborate, because I don't understand I don't understand. I'd like to understand.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure it was last year because it was my first year on council. And we were, and I say we because I was there too, trying to get cars to stop and to donate, and most cars were pretty amenable to that situation. But I think myself and maybe a couple of the other members of the groups that were there kind of got a little carried away, and I think some of the citizens felt that we were being a little too pushy. And that's all I'm indicating.
Okay.
Simply, it's a great program. I had a lot of fun, I just think that, when we're doing that, particularly in the eye of the public, we just need to make sure that we're doing it so that everybody feels comfortable in that situation. Not only the people who are trying to solicit the donations in a proper way, but also the people who are coming to give those donations as well too.
I agree, and I have a problem with that too. I maybe there's a fine line going a little too far, because I want to see it succeed and the benefits of it, the money that goes to these charitable organizations. And they appreciate it, and I want to see that succeed. I know where you're going with that.
Okay, Councillor Harper.
Well, from stopping traffic to talking about collisions, there, at our last AUMA convention in September, there was presentations regarding collision reporting centers. I'm not that familiar with them, so could you elaborate on what their role is to supplement the RCMP members in our detachment area? What would a collision reporting center do to ease your burden?
What those centers are is essentially a central hub for people to go and report their collision, just a simple fender bender type of crash where it needs to be reported, and they have an option to, it could be online, go in person, instead of taxing the municipal detachment to come and fill out the paperwork, input it onto the system, issue out the damage stickers, all of that stuff that our frontline clerk people or the member on scene would do could be done at these centralized reporting centers. So out of those 1,200 crashes that were on the report there, that easily could be 400 to 600 of those could be done and handled by that reporting center.
So I'm presuming these collisions would be non-injury collisions.
Right, something that further investigation or charges or something like that wouldn't need to be followed up by the police. Just a simple run-of-the-mill, very simplistic crash. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions from the members? Seeing none, I'd like to thank you for attending today. You had some more to report.
I
Okay.
just wanted to touch base on that prolific or the high-risk kind of offender program that we have kind of started running here last year since I got transferred here in April. I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of detail in terms of what we're actually implementing. But, and I'll even go back a little bit to say, do we have any real prolific, kind of serious offenders in town? I'm going to say no. Are there people that definitely need to be monitored and observed that we feel could be responsible for a vast majority of the crime? Yes. And that's where this program comes into play, and it's a kind of a glorified monitoring program coupled with an enforcement stage of it for people that are either on conditions or have a vast history of certain type of crimes that are affecting our community, whether it's break-and-enters, vehicle thefts, drugs, things like that. And it becomes a priority for our frontline members to go and ensure that they're abiding by their conditions, checking up on them at their residence, and I won't say babysitting, but making sure that they're following and are doing things that they should be doing and should not be doing. So that program has had great success, as staff said there with the stats, just in terms of the break-and-enters, but it's going to couple this year further to the drugs and hopefully some other criminal offenses that we can knock down a little bit in terms of numbers.
No, that's okay. I was just going to make a motion.
Go ahead, Councillor Harbour.
Aren't you glad I'm here? Sorry. In reference to your request in setting priorities, you've indicated the other municipalities in your detachment area you've met with already, and they've provided you with information in reference to setting the priorities for next year. With our CAO, our mayor, and one other councillor absent today, what is the urgency that council will get back to you with further discussions about the priorities that we feel?
Yeah, end of the month.
Okay, terrific.
Definitely before fiscal year for sure, but
Yes.
beginning of March, middle of March at the latest.
Thank you. So now I'll let Councillor Baershaw.
I'll get a question first. I'm Chair. Just kind of tweaked my mind there with the high risk. When you talk about break-in entries, is that just a very small number of people doing many, or is it a number of unknown people just creating a whole bunch of break-in entries?
Typically with the prolific or the high risk, it's a small amount of people committing the vast majority of offenses. Every community is going to have some transient type of criminals rolling through the area. I'd say especially around Olds, where we got a lot of communities that are really close, Innisfail, Didsbury, Sundre, Red Deer, where those people that are living in Red Deer don't like to commit crime in their own backyard, so they will travel to a certain extent to come and commit crime in other areas. We do see some of that. Every community sees part of that. But for the most part, yes, it's a small amount committing the vast majority.
Councillor Baershaw.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Walsh. I just want to, I move that, and thank Staff Sergeant Sangster and Constable Black, I guess? Corporal, sorry. Thank you for your attendance and your presentation today.
I just have a question before you leave, Staff Sergeant. We have a couple councillors that weren't here today, and they expressed interest in sharing what they think may be going forward, what this year's your strategic plan around it. Would it be okay for them to get their heads together and send you off a thing? There's a timeline on that, or are you putting this together?
Like our fiscal year ends March 31st.
Okay.
So I have to create the plan before that, and our district wants it in place before April 1st. So, yeah, it's, by the middle of March at the latest, or
Okay.
I'd like to see it by the end of this month.
I'll pass that on then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh. In reference to this particular report, I would like to make a further motion that Town Council provide the Olds RCMP detachment with Olds Town Council priorities for the coming year, and that be provided before the end of February 2015.
Okay.
That we can, and that way we know it's on the record.
And that kind of goes with my last question. Okay. So any discussion? And who wants to put that together? Okay, so we'll get together and put our heads together and come up with a plan, and when Mayor Dahl and Councillor Mary Ann Water come back. So, all in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, we have business arising out of the minutes. Is there anything arising out of the minutes? Seeing nothing, we'll move on to the bylaw. Land Use Amendment Bylaw 2015-02. Do we have somebody speaking to that?
Through the chair, got this on here. Carrie Kelman is in the gallery if you have questions, but for right now it is just for consideration of first reading and then setting an open house for the land use amendment bylaw.
So do we have any questions for any of our staff regarding this? Councillor Durier, and then Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. I appreciate that. In Section 2 of the new bylaw, subsection F, where it talks about minimum side yard, will that have any effect on the community standards bylaw with regards to recreational vehicle parking? Is that the same thing? I just didn't know.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. Through the chair, Councillor Durier, these are actually standard side yards that are pretty much in every residential district, and we're just, there's nothing stated in the central commercial area right now for that, and that's why one of the amendments is to include residential uses, because if you recall back, there was a land use amendment that a lot of that uptown area was rezoned to central commercial, so just to address or recognize the existing use that may be in place for many years to come. So it's just to set those regulations for if they do build or provide an addition or something to that effect. But these regulations are pretty standard across the board with our residential developments, and there's nothing in regards to RV parking. It's not really a consideration for this.
Councillor Harper?
Thank you very much for starting the process of bringing the East Olds and Uptown area redevelopment plans into our land use bylaw. So I would expect that there's more yet to come in reference to especially East Olds.
No, through to the chair, Councillor Harper, no, this is all we've pretty much outlined everything with regards to the land use bylaw. Amendments to be done with regards to the two plans. There may be some other amendments to be done in other areas, policies perhaps, MDP, our planner from Parkland Community Planning is working more on that. But this covers pretty much all of the land use bylaw requirements.
Mr. Chant, do you? No. Okay. Councillor Bennett.
Oh, I was just going to move if we're done.
Okay. I'm ready for the motion.
I move that bylaw 2015-02 be given first reading, and that a public hearing for bylaw 2015-02 be scheduled for Monday, March 9th, 2015 at 1 p.m. in council chambers.
Through the
Mr.
chair,
Chan.
could we get that in two separate motions, please?
Okay. So, first one. We've got it.
Okay.
We're just going to vote on it. All in favor? Okay, Councillor Durier will make the second one.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. I move that a public hearing for bylaw 2015-02 be scheduled for Monday, March 9th, 2015 at 1 p.m. in council chambers.
All in favor? Questions carried. Thank you. Moving on to unfinished business. There's nothing on the agenda. New business, CAO report. It's in your package. Any questions for Mr. Lucas? He'd be happy to entertain them. Seeing none, let's move on to 8B, lease of new loader. Oh, I'm sorry. So a motion to adopt the COO's incident report. Councillor Bennett.
I move that the CAO report for Olds Institute for Community and Regional Development be accepted for information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Now we con the lease of new loader. And who will be speaking to this?
Through the chair, I'll give it a shot. So before you there, Operations has a request for a decision to enter into a 5-year lease for a new loader. In our capital budget plan, it was passed for a 5-year plan for a loader. So as you see, for you, we've had 4 companies come forth with requests for proposals. And what we're recommending today is a 2013, which is brand new, just as it's, is a 2013, but brand new, full warranty on a 5-year lease program, and not to exceed $31,010.76 per year each for 5 years.
Thank you for that. Councillor Bearshaw.
Thank you, through the chair, to Mr. Chant. Why, when we have one loader, what's the reasoning behind having 2? Is it strictly for, or basically for snow removal situations? Can you please explain that a little bit?
Yeah, through the chair. We looked at replacing the current loader, which is getting on in years and in hours. But what we felt was a benefit to us was to actually get a new loader, have it become our main loader for pushing with the snow blower and different attachments. But keeping the second one, we have had plenty of times where when the first loader is hooked up to the snow blower, we have no other snow moving capabilities. If we end up with a water break, snow clearing and everything all at once, we're very handcuffed and limited what we can do with a bobcat or with a backhoe and a bobcat. Even as far as spreading gravel, having one at the pit or at the gravel site and then one on the job site just becomes more efficiency. We've had plenty of times where the loader's got to run across town to grab a bucket of gravel, fill up a dump truck, then race back to the other side of town. So we're trying to look at some efficiencies of what we can do. That's sort of the main area of the second piece of equipment. So the question had been asked to our group, if we were to start to, look at some redundancies, so to speak, on our equipment, which would be the first piece. And the loader was one that really stood out, is that we're getting to that size where having a main loader and then the second one as a backup is really coming to a critical point for us. Does that answer your question?
Councillor Harper.
So the numbers that you've quoted here, are they plus GST or including GST to start out with?
Through the chair, as we get all that GST back, these are without GST. And just point out with the machines, with this 2013, it includes full 5-year door-to-door warranty. So that means they will come to us and fix the machine on site for 5 years. We felt that was a very, very added bonus to the machine.
Councillor Duryea, then Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh, through the chair to Mr. Chant. Excuse me, new in 2013 does not seem, it seems a bit oxymoronic. Was there a savings to be garnered because we didn't get a 2014 or a 2015 loader? I just assume that they would probably be much more money, but is that because we needed to stay within the budget which we set?
Through the chair, yes, they gave us quite a savings, in excess of $30,000 savings to be a 2013 model versus a 2015. Biggest thing is that it is brand new. It doesn't have any hours on it, right? So they will garnish the full warranty and stuff for us. So yes, and it did fall within our, end up being that capital budget. It fell within our capital budget, or very close to it. The others would have been over our budget.
Well, having the opportunity to buy a brand new 2013 loader, in 2015 clearly indicates to me that the heavy equipment dealers probably are hurting. And I'm sure you're recognizing that too. So I'm just wondering how urgent we need this piece of equipment, like this month or next month. Would it be more affordable for us to wait to make a lease agreement for another few months?
Through the chair, the new equipment doesn't seem to be, they're not really hitting us on the economy. What is hitting us though is the American dollar. So if it goes, when we got 80 cents now, and last year when it was a stronger dollar, we would have seen better prices. But we can either play the gamble and hope the dollar goes up or not. This, not to add any pressure to council, is this dealership is holding it till the end of the day for us today. If basically, sales tactics or whatever they want to use, I guess, so to speak, is they have another municipality right behind us that we said, well, it's coming to town council today. If town council wishes to go with it, then we may secure it. If town council wishes to hold off for later on, we will be looking at coming back for a budget adjustment because we'll be outside of budget.
Councillor Baershaw.
Thank you. Through the chair, did we budget to lease a new loader and keep the other loader?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. That's how we presented the budget in December.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. If anybody would like to make one. Councillor Baershaw.
I move that a 5-year lease agreement with Finning Cat to supply a new 2013 loader not to exceed $31,010.76 in each of the 5 years be approved.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. The salesman had a good fit.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a donation, Olds Minor Hockey Association. Who'd like to speak to that? Mr. Wagstaff.
Through the chair, this is an application for a donation from Olds Minor Hockey for their 2015 Pee Wee Provincial Championship that they are hosting. You may recall back earlier in the fall, council did support in principle the hosting of this event when Olds Minor Hockey had applied for the event back in October, November time period. They've now come back and provided for council their budget and their expectations to what they're trying to achieve, and the amount that we're recommending is a silver level sponsorship of $1,000.
Thank you. Any have questions? Councillor Harper?
I certainly support that the town of Olds would be sponsoring a youth event like this. Just a question, would the $1,000 donation be, I guess, gift in kind, where we would be donating ice time? And why wouldn't we be doing that instead of writing them a check?
Through the chair, council policy is that for operations in the pool and the arena, that we don't waive ice fees, but in lieu of that organizations come to council and ask for donations to their operations. That way our budgets that we've allocated for our operations and rentals then are met, and it's a event by event sponsorship.
Any other questions? Okay, Councillor Harper?
I so move that sponsorship of $1,000 silver level be given to the Olds Minor Hockey 2015 Pee Wee Major Provincial Championship Tournament to be held March 18th to the 22nd, 2015. Be approved.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. And the next donation, Special Olympics 2015, Shagging on the Snow fundraiser. Who's speaking to that? Councilor, or Mr. Wagstaff.
Similarly to the previous one, the same council policies in place for the rental of the diamonds. Special Olympics, the one diamond to note, this is OR Hedges, this is a fundraising tournament that they're doing for Special Olympics. Special Olympics through the Rotary has a diamond allocated to them in Deer Meadow Park where a number of grades were done, and the rental fees for that particular diamond are not charged back to them for their use. That's part of the agreement. And then, sorry, I'll retract that. They have a special rate for that's an amended rate for the use of that diamond. It's not the regular cost, but this is not in that diamond. This is at OR Hedges.
Any questions? So I'd entertain a motion then. Councilor Bennett.
Thank you. I so move the donation in the amount of $1,920 for the Shaggin' on Snow fundraiser, March 14th to 15th, 2015, for Special Olympics be approved.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Well, thank you for that. Reports from council. It's the beginning of the month. I'm just going to open it up to councillors if they'd like to make any reports. Otherwise, Councillor Dorier.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. I attended a meeting of the Board of Directors for Parkland Community Planning Services on January 29th. We looked at our finances, and we hope to have less of a deficit in our budget because there are more billable hours, and this seems to be happening because we continue to, as a board, entertain more business through the municipalities that we serve, the regular municipalities as well as some of the Summer Village municipalities as well too. There has been a staffing change. They've hired a new planner. His name is Jeremy Tisdale, and that should help decrease the deficit as he gets billed out a little bit more. We are expecting grants. Our director of Parkland is in touch with the regional manager, and we were hoping to receive news this week. We actually have a meeting coming up here fairly shortly. We are trying to, as a board, review and change our branding and so we have a marketing strategy through a grant that we have received, and we're trying to decide on what that branding should look like so that it has more appeal to the public and so that Parkland becomes more visible in the entire area. So we're going through that particular process right now. Let's see what else here. We probably the most important thing that we did at that particular meeting was we struck a finance committee. Well, we're looking to strike a finance committee. So we've put notice out to the members of the entire area for Parkland, and we'd like to have a finance committee that will help us to fine-tune the budget so that we're not having to deal with dipping into the reserves all the time. Mark Kimbrell, who is the owner of Dairy Queen, he's also a town councilor in Innisfail and has a good financial background, will be sitting as a chairman of that committee. And we hope to have that committee direct us and help us to be more financially responsible as a board.
Thank you. Any other reports? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the reports. Councillor Bearshaw.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. I move that the reports from elected officials or official for the period ending February 9th, 2015 we received for information.
All in favor? Motion's carried. Correspondence, there's one piece of correspondence. It's a letter to our Olds Bottle Depot, which is very complimentary. Any questions? Or? Oh, it's on the back. No, we have no quarterly financial update or accounts payable. Question?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question to, through the chair to Mr. Lucas, and this is something that just popped into my mind. We're talking about donations, and as a town, we want to be seen as being charitable. How are we doing with our donations? I think we're coming up to the end of the year if we haven't reached it yet. And are we in line with the amount of money that we set aside to donate to various organizations such as we've done today?
Through the chair, for the numbers for 2014, the budget in the promotions and public relations was $15,000, and we donated $12,885. So
That doesn't include today's, I suspect. Okay.
anything done today would be in
Oh,
2015.
2015. Yeah, sorry. So that was a good question period question. Any other questions? Councillor Harper, go ahead.
So move that the correspondence and information report ending February 9th, 2015 be received for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Okay, any other questions for administration or staff? Councillor Bennett?
Thank you very much. I just have a question regarding the maintenance charges for the machine, the newish machine that had quite a bit. Was it not a large bill? I'm trying to think which, the last council meeting? The snow blower, is that it?
Yeah, you're talking about the snow blower?
Yeah, that is not that old, is it?
It is 3 years old. But no, it's not normal for that machine to have that type of repair. But what we found out through design or whatever, that there was quite a bit of moisture that got inside the motor. And yeah, it was a surprise to us that basically we had to rebuild the entire machine for maybe, not a whole lot more. We could have got a new one versus fixing the one we had.
So I'm curious, was nothing covered?
It's far enough that we have it owned long enough that it was off warranty, yes.
And they weren't willing to do anything because it was a special...
It's the type of use that machine is put through, and no
Right.
warranty was, no. They weren't willing to come to the party at all on it.
Motion to adjourn?
I'd so move to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor? That's carried.
Olds Community TV, your go-to channel for news and information in Olds, Alberta.